Welcome back to episode 6 of the
Episode
Gen
6.
Yes, of the Gen Z. Never interrupt me during an intro again. By the way.
Okay. Anyway,
let's
we're
start
doing
that
the
again.
intro.
Welcome everyone to episode 6 of the Gen Z Sanctum. My name is Nate Remington. This is Nathan Langford. How are you doing today?
Terrible.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's it for the episode. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm gonna say it's nice outside.
It is very
sunny, 76 degrees.
Yeah, a little warm for my taste. I'd rather like 70. Like
Yeah,
just
65, 70
69.
is about what I like. 69.
Anyway, nice. Anyway,
Nice.
yes. So, today will be an interesting episode because we're going to be talking about difficult work stories. So, times when we've had, like Karen stories, interactions with customers where customers have been basically retarded.
However, I do have stories. I didn't see them in person, but I heard them after they had just happened, and it's bad.
Yeah. Also stories about having problems with coworkers, and also stories where the management of the certain place you worked at was either you were doing your best and they just thought it wasn't good enough, or the management was brand new and they had no idea what they were doing.
I got a lot of stories for you today.
I'm sure you did. So, but for those of you who care, we're recording this on Wednesday, and a couple of days ago, this Sunday was Easter Sunday. Nathan, how was your Easter?
Yeah, actually pretty good.
Yeah, me too. We had Easter dinner. We had some ham. We had some deviled eggs.
I like ham.
Ham is great. Yep, you gotta get that.
What do you
meat.
prefer, ham or turkey?
For Easter, probably ham. I'm gonna say
Ham is really good. We had pork rib.
Ooh,
for.
nice.
I will say, the pork rib. I mean, it was good, but the meat wasn't as tender. I like my meat, very tender and soft and juicy, which is what most people prefer. Juicy.
Anyway.
But yeah, Easter was very good.
Yes, I think turkey's kind of just specifically a Thanksgiving type of meat.
They are, but it doesn't mean you can't have turkey throughout the year, though.
That's true. We sometimes have turkey at Christmas time as well.
Anyway, we talked about Easter. Work stories.
Anyway, so
I shall start.
Side rant. So, Nathan, let's start off with this. Nathan, what was your first job? Like, we've all probably worked for our parents and like mowed the lawn and stuff. But what was your
My
first
first job was working for my grandparents at their body shop called Langford's Collision Repair.
Yeah, so
that was my first job.
Yeah, if you're ever in Indianapolis, go check that out.
Yeah, if you ever need some body work, they're the shop to go to.
Yes.
But right now, it is so bad. They have to book out a month in advance currently.
Jeez, they're that busy?
Yeah, they're that busy. People just don't know how to drive anymore.
It must all be women drivers. I'm kidding, of course. It's probably about 75% women drivers.
But
anyway.
Yeah. You have to make an appointment for just somebody to look at the vehicle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, just look at it. Like, you can't even tow it there. They have no space in the back lot.
Wow. That's busy.
Oh, yeah.
But they must be making money, though, if it's that busy.
Yeah, this is, especially during the winter when, there's a lot more slippery conditions. That's when most wrecks come in.
Let me guess, half the vehicles are BMWs because they do not know how to drive.
Actually, believe it or not, no. Most of them are actually Fords and Chevys, believe it or not.
Probably because they hit the BMWs.
Probably. The BMWs come over, no turns, bam!
And the BMW's
The
fine.
BMW's like, I'm fine. I'm just going to keep going. Or they're the hit and run.
Run! The Chevys and Fords
I've got no insurance on my BMW, even though I don't know how to drive it at all.
Now, imagine a BMW from Ohio. That's going to be the worst driver you've ever seen. We're making fun of everyone here.
Anyway, so that was my first job. What was your first job?
My first job was Qdoba. So I love food, as you know.
Wow, I couldn't tell.
He just looked down at my stomach. If you guys haven't ever seen me in real life, I'm a little bit overweight.
He's a big boy.
Hey, yo, Nathan, you've got a small pee-pee.
Hey, yo.
Anyway, no, it's fine. It's a good size. Anyway, yes, I have seen it, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway.
There's no way.
Anyway, so first job was Qdoba. I liked making food, eating food, all of that kind of stuff. And so I thought, why not get into that kind of business? So I turned in many applications, about 3 or 4, and Qdoba was the only one who answered back. So I went and worked at a Carmel location of Qdoba that's no longer there, surprisingly.
Like they went out of business?
Yeah, like a few. We were driving past that like strip mall about a couple of weeks after I stopped working there. Store was gone, closed down, sign was gone.
Huh, interesting.
Probably why I left. Probably why things weren't good there.
Probably. They had to lay off employees because
Yeah.
of money.
Yeah, and I had a lot of problems there because they had, I don't know, I'm sure you have this at Chick-fil-A, but Qdoba was loud. Like they had, I think they had a big freezer room, and the freezer there was old, so the fan, it was just a loud noise. You could not hear anything. If you step back into the back room to do anything, you could not hear a thing.
No, that's not what you hear. You hear people talking.
Well, that's
Because
at your place, yeah. At my place, the fan on the freezer was just so loud.
you don't hear the fans on the freezer.
We do at this place.
Yeah, I know at Qdoba, but at Chick-fil-A,
Yeah.
the fans are contained inside the freezer.
That's true. This place, you could actually walk by the freezer, and the fans were just right above the freezer.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It was old and probably not well maintained.
Probably not.
So a lot of the problems I had at that job were the fact that they would give me an instruction, but they would whisper it, and I would be right next to the freezer. So I can't hear them if I'm walking to do something and they yell they say an instruction to my back as I'm walking past the loud freezer. I'm not gonna hear them. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna hear that. So they just think, and so I'm assuming that they thought that I was just ignoring them, even though I couldn't hear them say that.
Yeah.
Even though, like, because the lady who was the boss was like this, "Hey, could you get me something?" But imagine that's said to your back, and you're about,
And
like,
you're just here.
and you just hear the fan of the freezer going. You're not going to hear that instruction, so they might think that you're ignoring them. So yeah, things were pretty bad.
Then what I would do is be like, I can't hear you over this dang loud freezer. Speak up.
That might be that might be considered rude.
It might be considered, well, okay, you wouldn't say those exact words, but you need to be like, hey, I can't hear you over the fans of the freezer.
Yeah. So the other thing that made that a bad work environment was not the fact that all of the workers were black, but the fact that gave them sort of the permission to yell basically the N-word at each other. So I was the only white employee. There was the black lady who was the manager, and there were 2 other black guys that worked there. And they would just use the N-word constantly in conversations with each other. And I was too socially awkward to say anything at the time. I probably should have spoken up and said, "Hey, that makes me uncomfortable. I don't like hearing that word." Regardless of whether you can say it or not, it just makes me uncomfortable. But I was, and still am to a certain degree, socially awkward, so I might not necessarily approach you and say, "Hey, stop saying that,"
Yeah.
or whatever. So that job lasted maybe 3 weeks at most. And eventually they just called me and said, "Oh, we're not firing you, but we're just not going to schedule you." And then a couple of weeks later, the store was gone. The store's not there anymore. So I'm
Wow.
assuming that the store was bad enough that people were just like,
To be fair, Qdoba isn't as popular. You know why?
Because you have
Chipotle.
Yeah.
Exactly. Chipotle is like the huge fast food Mexican restaurant. I mean, Qdoba was Mexican as well, but they're not as well known.
That's true. That's true. So what would you say was a bad experience at your first job?
Bad experience was one of the employees, I'm not mentioning names,
Okay.
was
His name was, and his IP
Very-
address, what? No.
was made me very uncomfortable. I would walk in every single day and he'd just go,
What?
yeah,
To you?
to me.
Why?
He was very rude. And I will say one thing that I didn't appreciate about him was the fact that he was decent at his job, but he almost didn't care about anything or anybody.
Wow, that's rude. He would be fired.
He did get fired.
Dang. Well, that makes sense. You just whispered it straight in the microphone.
Because I'm not technically allowed to say that. But.
Well, he did get fired, ladies and gentlemen. And his IP address is no. I'm kidding. His home address is no. No. Anyway. Yeah. So second job. What was your second job?
My second job was Chick-fil-A at the Westfield location. Okay, let me say this. There are two Westfield locations. I'm talking about the Westfield that has the Carmel address, not the Westfield that has a Westfield address.
Right. So you worked at the Carmel address.
Carmel address Westfield store.
Correct. So that was, according to stories you told me, the sucky one.
That is apparently one of the worst Chick-fil-A's in the area to work at.
Wow.
And it's all because of management.
Here we go. You don't have
One
to
thing
get,
I will
you
say,
don't have to get too much into detail about.
I'm not going to, but all I'm going to say is the operator does not care about his employees.
That sucks.
He sees them as numbers on a piece of paper. He literally flat out said to some other coworkers, I don't care about you. You can leave. I can easily replace you.
I would leave. I would leave.
Oh, I 100% would be like, bye, Felicia.
Yeah. Let's see. My second job was Holiday World. Now, I will say this. Holiday World, great place to go on vacation. But working there is difficult. Like, even though it's a great place to go. Me and you have been before.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great place. They got great roller coasters. Most famous. They're known for the most famous blah 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 in the world. Several things. They've got free sunscreen, free soft drinks throughout the park, which is fun, really fun to have that. But I have a whole newfound respect for the the workers, the ride operators there, because I worked there for a summer. Well, I would say a summer, half a summer, for about 2 months that I was working there, and the amount of pride that. Like, they are so full of pride. The management workers, like, I was a ride operator, so I basically went from like 3 to 4 different rides throughout like an 8-hour shift. I would sit there, wave hi to people, make sure that they were strapped in, and then push and hold a button while the ride ran for like 5 to 10 minutes.
So, in other words, a very easy job.
Very easy job, but the appearance was something that managers cared about way too much.
Which, to be fair, most managers do.
That's true, but the level to which they cared was
that
insane.
was, you need to care on the same level, not like, oh, they're higher than you. If I'd be like, I'm not working for you if you're gonna do that.
Like managers, you're not standing there along with the customers and doing your job and interacting with people. If you're a manager, you are somewhere in the park just waiting to get a radio call from someone that something has gone wrong, and then going over there and being,
checking up to figure out what went wrong, figure out what it's going to take.
Spend your whole shift on these rides interacting with customers. So you don't get seen. So your appearance is not as important as ours.
Yeah.
So, So here's the thing. I have, as I said, I'm a little bit overweight. I have sort of what you would call a double chin. I have a little extra weight that's on my chin, and I wear a beard, and you can't tell that, but when you're asked to be clean shaven, that stands out like a sore thumb. If you're clean shaven and you look down for anything, the double chin, almost triple chin pops out, and that's the first thing you notice. So I tried to have longer sideburns, make it look stylish, and they were like, like those need to be a little shorter. Okay. First of all, it cost me $4 every time they said that it wasn't short enough. You can buy a razor and go take care of it. $4 every time, and last couple of days I worked there, it was pretty much every day that somebody would say it needs to be shorter, it needs to look like this, and I'd have to go to the office in the middle of my shift and shave the little bit for them to care.
They would be changing their rules every single day.
True. So they would say, hey, shave it to this, and I would shave it, and I would be like, does this look fine? Yeah, that's fine. And the next day somebody else, here's the thing, my supervisor, great guy. It was not. It was supervisor from other departments. Not even my department, not my direct supervisor. Managers from other departments that would approach me and be like, "Hey, you need to go fix this right now."
You know what? I get you were still socially awkward. You don't, you know.
I so wanted to say, I'm not in your department, so go speak to my advisor.
Here's what
or
I
my
would have
manager.
said. I would have said, I shaved it yesterday and told I was fine. Why is the exact same length that I told was fine yesterday not fine today?
That's true.
Is there a standard of how well it needs to be shaved and the amount of distance? Because if you can't give me that, you can't give me a good reason to go shave.
That's true. Also,
That's what I would have said. And if they said, well, go home, I would have been like, okay, I'm not working for you people if you don't have an actual standard to have
that's
rules
true.
taken care of.
I also probably would have referred them to my supervisor. Say, I don't work for
Yeah,
you
if you have a
directly.
problem with this, go talk to my
to
supervisor.
What's his name? My supervisor. And if he says that I need to change it, then yes, I will change it. But I'm not going to take direct orders from somebody who's not even my direct manager.
Yeah.
Like, managers are technically rank above us. But if you're not even from my department, why should I care? Like,
Well,
yes,
they are a
you
rank above you, but
Yeah.
I first would have started out, why are you coming to me and saying that it's too long when I shaved yesterday and told it was fine, and now you're telling me the literal next day, and there's no way it could have grown to the same length it was yesterday to shave again?
That's true.
I would have full out asked him, are you expecting me to shave to have no hair left on my head?
Like, yeah, because here's the thing. First off, I went there clean shaven. I had shaved all of this, and I had a little goatee, my mustache, and longer sideburns. And they were like,
to be honest, that seems perfectly fine.
yeah. So this was the last 3 days that I worked there. First day, they were like, oh, shorter sideburns, but you can keep the mustache and the goatee. So I go shorter sideburns. Second day, they say, okay, sideburns need to be above the bottom of your earlobe, so up here somewhere, which is that's no sideburns pretty much at all.
Yeah.
Third day, they were like, you need a mustache to goatee, everything needs to go, you need to be completely clean shaven. And I was like, so third day I took a break. I took a break. This is the thing. I didn't just walk off. I finished my shift. And at the end of the day, I walked down to HR and I was like, I need a notice. I signed it for that day, turned it in, and went home. And that was that. I would go back. I would definitely say that I want to go back and work there. But
you need to freaking stand your ground if you go and work there again. You need to flat out tell them and be like, hey, why am I getting punished for something that I didn't get punished for yesterday when I was already told to shave something else?
That's true. But here's the thing. The managers were all of higher age, so like 60s and something. So I'm going to guess that in the next couple of years they're going to retire and there's going to be a bunch of new managers. So I'll go with the new managers that don't know me and potentially will follow the rules to the book. Because here's the other thing that made me mad was there's a rule book. There's a rule book for all employees to follow, and they would go through the list and be like, oh, we don't follow that one, or oh, that one is different, oh, we don't follow that one. Then update the frickin' book. Update the rule book. If you don't follow these certain rules, take them out. If you follow these rules differently, restate them.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get it. So that was
so that was Holiday World.
That was Holiday World, and that wasn't even the worst job that I had. We haven't even gotten to my third job. But what was your third job?
My third job was Blue Beacon Truck Wash.
And this was when you were at college.
The worst job I have had.
Dang.
Let's just say the management was the worst part of it, and most of the employees were potheads.
Wow.
They were.
And
Every so often, somebody would come in high as crap.
And they don't drug test, I'm assuming?
No, they do. They just don't drug test for... They don't drug test for weed, which to be fair, is very popular. And they're like, They literally had to shove away so many employees because of weed.
That they just
And
said,
then they're just like, no, we're not going to test for that.
we wouldn't have any workers if,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which they already were so low on workers. And when I was working there, all I was doing is getting yelled at. Just like, oh, no, you need to do it this way. You need to do it this way. And it was literally Holiday World. Be like, hey, you're supposed to do it this way. Next day, hey, you're supposed to do it this way. What way am I supposed to do it?
Yeah.
And then I was basically said, frick off. I'm doing it the way that I find comfortable and efficient.
And wow.
And when they literally, no joke, when I swear I got a little tingle whenever somebody was looking at me for management. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it right. And then literally the moment they go away, screw the rules. I'm doing it my way. And my way was quick, efficient, and got the truck clean.
Yeah. So that would make sense.
And no joke, to get the bottom of the top of the truck wheels, they expected you to bend yourself like a taco to get the top of the wheels. I'm like, guess what?
Nope.
I can just bend the gun a certain way, bend just a little bit, and get the top perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So why are you expecting me to do that?
That's kind of stupid.
Very stupid.
And you did this job while you were at college in Ohio, I'm assuming?
Uh-huh. And it was beyond stressful. I mean, one thing I did like about it was working mornings and having evenings to do whatever I wanted, but I was like,
oh, when we played games together in the evening, I could feel the stress levels coming over the mic. Because little tiny things in Fortnite would happen, and you would be like, "Why?" And you would just sort of freak out, like if like somebody would kill you or something. Which today would be like, "Haha, you suck at this game" or whatever, and you'd be like, "Frickin'!" and you'd like turn the mic off, and you'd be gone for like 15 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And come back and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna get off." Like you were probably just raging. What the frick is going on? Yeah, I could feel the stress coming across.
Bad. And also, some of the people there are so dumb.
Dumb? Dang.
They would come in, and first of all, management doesn't know how to train people.
Okay, well, that's not good.
So they would give somebody 3 days to train everything and be like, all right, here you go. They're on their own.
Wow.
90%. The people who weren't trainers would have to be like, no, that's not how you're supposed to do it. No, you don't do that. You don't do that. You don't do that.
Wow. That is...
And I flat out got pissed off. And I was like, okay, I'm going to retrain your butt, and we're going to do it this way.
Wow. That is...
Even though I wasn't getting paid, I don't care if I'm not getting paid. Well,
for the
I
training.
mean, like, getting paid as much as a trainer. I'm like, I'm sick of this. I am getting absolutely soaked with water because nobody knows how high you're supposed to go.
Yeah.
With the gun, and not to mention those guns are 1,500 psi. They will blow the skin right off your hand.
I'm sure, yeah.
So,
oh boy,
and they're spraying it right in the face. I'm just like,
don't do that,
dude. Really, really. I flat out went up to some people and just stared them. I gave them my death glare and was like, really? You do that again, I'm gonna freaking spray your butt. And somebody came around and was like spraying me, and you're not supposed to spray each other with guns. Mm-hmm. This one guy, I'm not going to name names.
Okay.
But I swear he was a crack addict.
Oh, probably.
He would spray me with the rinse gun, and I was like, you want to do that again? So I leaned in front where the little separation between the truck and trailer. I leaned in there, took the gun as far as I can to the other side, and soaked him. When he came around the other side of the truck, he was soaking wet. I'm like,
did you
screw
laugh at
you.
him in real life,
yes,
or?
I did. Wow. I was like, screw you.
See, that it turns out when you frick around, you find out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Well,
and then it got to the point where I had to worry about gen eds, which gen eds were always hard for me.
Oh.
And having to do a job and gen eds, my grades were plummeting. I was like, I cannot keep doing this. So I called my mom like in a panic. I was like, Mom, either school's got to change or work's got to change. And my mom's like, you are not quitting school. What I want you to do is go to work and tell them you're done. I'm like, cool, done.
I would have left like 5 weeks before you did. I would have been like, the first time somebody did something really stupid, I would have been like, this is not really.
But to be fair, you were getting paid $20 an hour.
That is true. That is true. I would have. Yeah. Ooh, internal conflict there. Like, is this do they pay me enough for this crap?
To be fair, I would say they do, but I'm just so over it.
Yeah.
So I told them I want to be done that day, but they're like, just finish your week. I'm like, whatever. So I'm like, make sure to say bye when you leave. So when I clocked out, walked out. I'm like, I don't care about you people.
Have fun having the job. Just walks out.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
So I walked out of there and I felt like a free man. I'm like, I don't ever have to come back to this dump anymore.
Yeah. So my third job was Salvation Army, a family store. So this is my worst job that I've ever had. So this job,
Let me ask you.
Okay.
What would you prefer? Go back to Holiday World and deal with the stupid management that couldn't follow the rule book, or Salvation Army?
I would take Holiday World every day. Salvation Army needs to F themselves. I thought this store, like 5 minutes, less than 5 minute drive away from where I live.
So like, oh, good place to work.
It's a cool place to work. I've been in there many times. They have great bargains. The people that I interacted with were mostly okay. So I apply there. This is where things get stupid. So
I love how you looked directly in the mic and said,
this is how when things get stupid. So, I go online and find their application website, and I fill it out completely, social security number, everything that I need to fill out. I send it in. 3 weeks later, I've heard nothing from them. So I go into the store, and I say, hey, I sent an application in a while ago. I was wondering if you had got it. And they were like, oh, let me check. So they go back and check the computer. We never got it. Here's this paper application. You can write that out while you're here in the store and just hand it back to me, and we'll get you in here to work the next couple of weeks. So I do that, write out paper application, everything, ID, whatever, turn it in. And he was like, thanks, I'll call you within the next couple of weeks. 3 more weeks go by.
hey, what's the status of my application?
Hear nothing. I walk back in and I say, hey, how's my application? And he's like, still sitting on my desk.
Retard.
So, but I was desperate for a job at this point. I had failed twice already, so I was like, I need a job at this point. My mom's nagging me. I have things that cost money now. I need this job.
Yeah.
So, at this point, like, if I were smarter, I probably would have left it that and been like, this is not really worth it. If they're not gonna care enough.
If they're not gonna care enough, don't waste your time with them.
I'm gonna waste my time. Turns out I wasted my time. So I was like, oh, okay, well, and he said, I'll put it in an envelope and send it in today. That was on a Monday. The following Wednesday, I go
of
in.
the same week?
Next week.
Oh.
The following Wednesday of the next week, I walk in and he's like, hey, we turned it in and you were supposed to be here on Monday to start. Are you freaking serious? And he was like, yeah, no, but you can start on Friday. I was like, all right. Friday night, I spike a fever and throw up. Guess what I have? COVID-19.
Ooh.
So the first day that I'm supposed to get on the job, like Thursday night into Friday, I spike a fever and I throw up and I test positive for COVID-19 that evening. So I call him and I'm like, hey, I tested positive and I'm pretty sick. And he's like, all right, just let me know when you're you're
better enough to come into work.
Test negative and
because nobody can be like, why'd you get COVID-19? No, if you get COVID-19, it is illegal for you to work.
This was 2021, so this was still during the height of it.
The spikes. The spikes now are just gone. The spikes are gone.
Not as intense. In 2021, we had been through the initial wave, but the next spike was like,
the middle of 2021, we got spike 2.
Yeah.
Which wasn't as bad, but it was still not terrible.
It was bad enough that everyone went sort of like a lockdown.
Like everybody kind of like reinstated the masks and were like, hey, make sure you're still wearing masks.
Yeah. So I get COVID and I'm sick, pretty much bedridden for another whole week after that. So, and then So another week following, on Friday, I test and it's negative, and I'm like, okay, I tested negative. I give him a call. I'm like, hey, I tested negative today, and he's like, all right, great, come in Monday. This was on a Friday, so come in Monday. So I show up Monday, and I start working. So that was I just got in the door. That was all the effort I spent to actually get in the door.
So 2 months.
That was 2 months to get in the door, essentially. So once I'm in, I go to the back room and punch in finally for the first time at this job. And he's like, all right, we're pretty busy today, so I'm going to need you to do this and this and this and that and this. I'm like, wait, hold on. First day here, what in the frick is this five dotted point list of things to do on my first day? But he was like, yeah, we're going to pull a truck around, and we got a bunch of donations that we're sending out to another thing. So we're going to need you to load up a couple of carts and drag them out to the truck and put the stuff in. And I was like,
Okay, simple.
That's simple. So I do that, and I take it out, and he's like, okay, we're going to need to move some furniture back into the store. And I was like, oh, okay, what? About 5 couches. I was like, okay, a little more intense, but nothing I can't handle. So we move these 5 couches. These are heavy. These are full, like, leather
wood
couches,
couches.
heavy couches. And one of them was a fold-in bed, so it had the weight of a metal frame and the mattress folded in.
Those are heavy.
Granted, it was not a bad couch. I would have bought it myself. In fact, probably what I'll do when I move out is buy a studio apartment, and my bed will be a fold-out couch. Those are great to sleep
Which is
on.
what most people do with a studio apartment.
Those are pretty good. Those are pretty good. They're pretty very comfortable. My grandma has both of her couches in her living room are those. We fold them out and sleep there when we're there, and they're amazing to sleep on. So that's probably what I'll do is I'll have a couch that folds out to be a bed. It's amazing. So I get done moving these 5 or 6 couches. My feet, legs, and back are hurting now because that's heavy.
Yeah.
And we spent about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours doing this. And so I sit down for a brief moment in a chair that was in there, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna, sit here, breathe for a second, or like 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and then I'm gonna get back to it. So he walks up and he's like, hey, I don't want to see you sitting while you're on the job. If I see you sitting again, I'm sending you home. You do realize I just lifted and moved 5 or 6 or 7 heavy couches for you. Didn't say this out loud. But I needed a breath. I felt like I was going to pass out because I was lightheaded from straining to carry these heavy couches, almost on my own. There was one guy that was on the truck who would lift these down there to them and be like, "You got it? Yep, all right," and would just let go and let me fold the couch back onto one of those carrying things. Carry it in
those
there,
carry
lift
dollies.
it off the things, and put it down in the store, maybe with one other guy that would help, but sometimes it was just all by myself doing this. And so, that pissed me off. I was like, I just moved some heavy stuff for you. I need to sit down here for a little bit. Not like a whole break's worth, but like at least 30 seconds to a minute to catch my breath, make sure everything's okay, and then continue. That's not a big problem. Apparently it was for him because he didn't like that.
I would have flat out told him, I'm like, dude, I just moved 5 couches almost on my own. Can I take like 30 seconds to a minute to catch my breath?
Social anxiety. So I don't want to risk coming out. And also think about the 2 months that it took me to just get in here. And this is my first day.
I know. But I would have flat out, I would be like, can I just please take 30 seconds or a minute to catch my breath? I just moved 5 really heavy couches. I just need to catch my breath.
Yes, but I didn't think of that, and also didn't want to get fired on the first day.
And if he said no, I would have been like, why did I even apply here? I'm leaving. I'm going home.
Well, that would have been a wasted 2 months of waiting to get.
That would have been a wasted 2 months, but that would have showed the guy, I'd be like, you're rude. You're a prick.
Yeah. So in future, I now have 3 strikes. I'm not out though. I am working currently with a vocational rehab job coach. Certain things that have carried over from school, being on the spectrum and other problems, have allowed me to get government help to get me back on to a job, because I told these stories to the person that was doing the job coaching, and they said, "Oh, that's a lot of violations. Like that's half the stuff he had you doing was illegal."
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I worked there a total of 7 days, a single week. I was active, and I have the vlogs on my YouTube channel, work vlogs, to prove it. Where, while I was taking a break, I'd take out my phone and I would take a little short video and explain what was going on, and just have that for the as a sort of a job vlog. Halfway in, that was the first day. So throughout the rest of the week, we moved a lot more heavy couches. I was out of breath, but I would have to sneak and sort of sit down and catch my breath while he wasn't watching. And then, so we butted heads a lot. One of these days, we had a family event. Me and my mother were going to drive to my grandparents' house to hang out with the family for like a 4th of July thing.
Yeah.
Because this was middle of the summer. He gets done finishing working with customers. I got done with what I needed to get done in the back. So I walk out front and I'm like, "Hey, Larry," this guy's name was Larry. "Hey, Larry, I was wondering if I could get this Friday and Saturday, get a 3-day weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, off of work to go do this family event." And he's like, "No, you just started working here." And I was like, "Well, we've had this plan for a long time, and and I need to be there." And he's like, he literally says this, "No, it's not about what you need. It's about what the company needs."
Some jobs will do that,
Dumbass.
unfortunately.
So I lasted till that Friday, and we butted heads one final time on Friday. He said, "Listen, I wasn't aware of all of these problems that you've had, why you can't work here the way I want you to work here. Just, if you can't do that, then go home." And I said, "All right, I'll see you. Bye, Felicia," essentially. "All right, apparently I can't do work to your standards, so I'll leave." So I left, got home, didn't get paid. So the payment was delayed. So we wait. Another frickin' month later, we call him and say, "Hey, listen, there's about $150 of work, $150 of income during that time that I was working that's still outstanding. You haven't paid me yet." And he's like, "Oh yeah, hold on, I'll work on that." And so I was like, "All right, well, it better show up soon." Another 2 weeks go by, hear nothing from him. So me and my mother both walk into the store, and my mother goes off on him and says, "Listen, he worked for you. You're not paying him. What you're doing is illegal. I have connections in the Better Business Bureau. You need to pay for him for the time he was here, or else I'm going to report your company, report this store and you to the, to the local the right
government.
people." Yeah. And
the government be like,
he didn't seem to care. He was like, "All right, yeah, I'll just see what I can do."
I can send you to court, buddy.
I can sue you for a lot
Not
of
paying.
things. Yeah. And so finally, another whole week goes by, and my paycheck drops at the end of the week, and I'm like, "I'm finally done with this piece of crap." And I've never gone back to the store after that. My mom said she is not going back to the store and support them either. So both of us have never been back to the store since then.
Yeah.
For anything. Not even to shop, not even to look. We've never been back. We're 39 minutes into this episode, and I feel like I just ranted the last 20 minutes.
Do you feel better?
I feel much better just yelling. I would name names more, but his name was Larry. He works at Salvation Army, so that's, if you can figure that out, fire him. I don't know. I don't know who listens to this podcast, but I wouldn't say harass him, but I would say get him fired, because that guy... It's not what you need. It's about what the company needs. It's Salvation Army. They're supposed to be a charity organization. What the frick do you mean? So, I haven't had a fourth job yet, but your fourth job was the job you're currently in, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was
Chick-fil-A, Saxony I-69.
location, yes. So, what stories do you have from that location that suck? As bad?
Surprisingly, none.
So that's much better.
Yes, it has so far been the best job that I've had.
And you're currently working on getting a sixth job.
Fifth. Count.
Sorry, I was just letting my rage out for this one job for 15 minutes. My brain no work no more.
My brain's like, no, bye, Felicia.
Yeah, I can't count. My brain no work no more.
My brain go bye-bye.
So, fifth job at Firestone, because he went to school for automotive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he needs to be not in a restaurant job, but in the job he actually went to school for. So he's working on that. And the way my dog barked in the background, and Nathan just slowly turns around in his chair to look at the noise. Anyway, so he had an interview today, right before we recorded this.
Yeah.
Would you say that went well, or?
I'd say it went well. It wasn't really an interview. It was more of like the manager location figuring out what I want to do with this job.
Sounds good.
And to sum things up, it's just get my foot in the door working on cars professionally.
Yes, I wish I could get my foot in somewhere else at that Salvation Army. Anyway.
Anyway, that'll be it for today's episode.
We're running already at 41 minutes, probably the longest episode we've ever had.
All right, it's been a fun episode. We'll see you next time with next week's episode.
Next week's episode, we tune in for a special edition of the podcast, because next week we're going to be talking about Minecraft. We're going to be talking about Minecraft and certain legends that are related to Minecraft, such as, so-and-so guy with white eyes.
Yeah. Anyway, that's for next week's episode.
Too much of a spoiler. That's next week's episode. Thank you for joining us. Anything you want to say before we go?
Bye.
Okay, bye, Felicia.